And it is a lot of fun, especially for the community.
Yes, that's a community
Our St.
member, I can
Columban
see that.
community here, even though they don't necessarily have children in the school or have ever had children in the school, they all come out to all these events when we tell them the band is going to be there. They stand there and cheer the band. It's a real good community builder.
Oh, yes.
First, I'd like to present you with one of our official kazoos
Oh, wow.
and lanyards. See, we bought the kazoos with the horn, and you slip it on, and we found from trial and error that they keep falling off. So you even actually have the official tape. This has never been played before, so you're safe with that. We have our school logo, and this is how we attached them with lanyards. I went to Home Depot and bought key rings, and then we slip it on, and then the kids, it doesn't keep falling. Because if you give the kids anything that's loose in their hands, it will fall.
That is a great idea. Brilliant.
There
Thank
you
you
go,
so
your
much.
own
Thank you
first
very much.
kazoo
Thank you
from St.
very
Columban.
much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much, very much. Thank you very much. Let me say this. I'm Mike Oden, and I'm joined by Ro Elliott. She's the music director for St. Columban Church and School. So thank you for joining us, Ro, and thank
My
you
pleasure.
for this wonderful kazoo. I appreciate it. Fantastic. Now, I saw you for the first time at the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival, which happened just recently. And I saw all these bands and all these different groups coming down the street, and your group was the best one. It stole
you.
the show, So tell us, I mean, how many years have you been doing this now?
This is our second year with a band. We have third graders on kazoos and fifth graders on drums. This all came about with a process of following through from what happened at a Christmas program with the children playing drums, which were actually Home Depot buckets. And then we decided, well, why stop at Christmas? Let's keep going. And the first thing that came to mind, we're a Garden Grove school, is the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival. So we applied for an application to be part of the Strawberry Festival. We had no idea if they would even go for something like this. This is kind of off the charts. We're different. We're not a traditional band at all. So we kind of waited it out and sweated it out until they sent us the letter saying we were accepted. And we thought, well, we don't want to do just drums. What could we possibly add to our band? And the easiest thing that came to mind was the kazoos, because you don't have to necessarily be a musician to play the kazoo. If you can hum the tune, you can play the kazoo, which was great for the kids because some of them aren't necessarily children that should be singing with a microphone as a soloist, but everybody can hum. And they had to actually learn to play it because it isn't just simply blowing air. You have to learn the song. So it was a good music process. They had to learn the song before they could play the kazoo. And the drums, the kids were already learning simple drum patterns. And I only have them about 45 minutes once a week. I don't have a lot of time with them. When we get closer to events, sometimes the teachers will give them away for some extra rehearsal time. So in this 45 minutes, I have to teach them a drum pattern or a new song. And we really stepped it up this year. Last year it was simple songs, just a song, then there'd be a break, and the drums would do a drum pattern, and then the kazoos would pick up with the song. This year we went through a lot of medleys. We had a film medley where we touched on Bridge Over the River Kwai, which, hey, 8 and 10-year-olds, they have no clue what that movie is. So, but it's a very famous march, and it's great for a band. So it included Bridge Over the River Kwai, Indiana Jones, the Star Wars, which is their favorite, Harry Potter. All these things we put into a medley. So they had to learn all these pieces of music before they could play it on the kazoo. And with the drum corps, I write out a pattern so they can see it on paper, because not all the students are musicians. So they can see it on paper, then they listen to it, and then they learn it. So they're not actually learning to read music, but at least there's some association with that drum music is possible to be read on staff paper. It isn't all just listening and playing.
Now, what made you decide to start a kazoo band in the first place?
Because we wanted something to go with the drums.
Ah.
What can we go with the drums? You know, we can just do a drum corps, but there's drum and fife, but I can't teach children how to play. First of all, we couldn't afford fifes for everybody. Second of all, where am I going to have possibly time to teach an instrumental program in 45 minutes once a week? We aren't into a program like a junior high where we have electives and the kids who elect to go into band go every single day. So because that's what first thing that came to mind, kazoos, and any age can play the kazoo. You don't have to. So we thought, let's do the third graders with the kazoos and the fifth graders with the drums. And then it was a matter of, once we knew we were going to be accepted in the festival parade, now we got to get our act together. It isn't just playing the music, it's looking like a band. So how do we look like a band? Okay, everything costs money, unfortunately. Because we're a school, we didn't have to pay an entrance fee for the parade, but we needed some kind of uniform, right? So one of the parents of the 5th grade students at that time last year went to his company and asked for a couple $100 for t-shirts. So they all had matching t-shirts. And then we picked up baseball caps. Well, this year, what happened is through the course of the summer, someone had seen us in the Strawberry Festival last year and saw us with the Home Depot buckets. Because here we are again, a music program that really doesn't have a budget. How can we economically outfit these kids to look like something official? Doesn't have to, it can still be a novelty and be official. So I started off with the Home Depot, the big orange Homer buckets. And I pulled the handles off, drilled holes in the side, and ran a cord through it, and it went around their neck. And then we actually ended up padding the cord with some leftover styrofoam tubing that when the school got their new desks, they had bands of styrofoam around the table legs so they wouldn't get scratched. So we recycled them and used them so that the cords didn't cut into their neck. Okay, the drumsticks I picked up on eBay. And, granted, they're from China, they're not US made, but hey, I had to go for cost efficiency. How can I get the most drumsticks for the least amount of money? Most of it came out of my own pocket. We don't have a budget. So my tax guy loves me anyway. So we get these drumsticks and we're working with the buckets. And if they're stationary, those orange buckets aren't too bad. But once we got moving, I'm talking 10-year-olds with these 3 or 5 gallon buckets, it was pretty cumbersome. Some of them, the whole bucket would hit their knee. So we kept rehearsing with it, but I went back to Home Depot again and I bought the smaller white buckets. And those seem to work a lot better because they're only 10 years old. So it's not like, if I stood up with the Home Depot bucket, it would come to my thighs, but it wouldn't keep hitting me in the knee. So the white buckets work better. Again, drilled new holes in the buckets, put the cord through with the little styrofoam, and they were all set. So that's how we got through last year. Well, someone saw us last year and they said, oh, look at these kids. They're making music out of buckets. And so he went to some benefactor in his organization that he has. And the benefactor said, I think this is important enough, get those kids real drums. So in September, he came over to the school and he said, I want you kids to know that I loved seeing you play your buckets, but I found someone who gave the money to get you real snare drums. And they're mini snare drums. So they're still pretty good size for 10-year-olds. But now, of course, they went crazy. They're real drummers now. But now we have real drums, which means more noise. Okay. So we did some playing around. And I actually had a drummer come in, the drummer that I hire for services here at St. Columban at any of our special liturgies. I had him come in and give the kids an actual class on how to correctly hold the drumsticks. Because they're not just hanging them like this and banging. They had to learn how to hold the drumsticks. He talked to them about the importance of listening as well as playing. When you're a drummer, you have to listen to what's going on so that you keep everybody together. It was a really great experience for them. I put basically foam packing you would wrap glasses in. I put a strip of that under the snare on the bottom of the drum. And then we took the top off of the drum and I put a sheet, again it's for packing dishes, over the skin of the drum, then put the bracket back on. So all we actually did was stifle the skin a little bit and stifle the snare. So it wasn't quite so loud, because you give 10-year-olds a drum and sticks, they're gonna really whack it out. I mean, so I had to try and stifle it. Besides, you can't hear the kazoos then, if they're too loud. So this year we really progressed. When we went for a new sponsor this year, I just put it out to the parents basically. And I just said, we're looking for a sponsor to sponsor our t-shirts. If you work for a business that might be willing to sponsor us, or if you know somebody, would you let us know? And just ask. Sometimes you just need to ask. We didn't have to beg. We didn't have to grovel. We just asked. And someone came forward and said, hey, I'll sponsor you. So we upped our game this year. And we got t-shirts. We went online and found some images of marching band uniforms. And we came up with it's kind of like a lapel that looks like it has brass buttons. And we brought it to the printer and said, can you image this, instead of lettering St. Columban Kazoo and Drum Corps, can you put this on the front of the shirt so it looks like kind of like a band uniform? No problem. And let's get rid of these baseball caps. We didn't like the baseball cap look. We wanted them to look like a marching band. So again, I just went online, searching, and as I told you before, in one of my insomnia moments, I'm laying in bed going, I got an idea. Again to Home Depot, go to Home Depot, and I picked up some of their, they're meant to be disposable paint buckets, and I picked up a couple of different sizes and I brought them to school, and they were plastic. So we thought, well, it would work, but it's gonna be hot. That plastic on those kids' heads, it's gonna be hot. So just went online, just thumbing around looking for stuff, and I came up with the idea of a popcorn bucket like we would get at the movie theater. So again, went online, found where I could buy all different sizes of popcorn buckets, but you had to buy like 100 at a time. So I didn't know how am I going to get to know for sure I'm going to buy 100 buckets and they're going to fit these kids, or are we going to be stuck with hundreds of popcorn buckets here at the school that we have no use for? So I contacted the Solo company, because they're the ones that make the popcorn buckets, and I asked them if they could send me a sample of different sizes, and they said, they couldn't as a corporation, but they gave me their local rep's name. Local rep said, sure, no problem. So she sent me the different samples, and we found that the small popcorn bucket worked really well. Okay, so this is a small popcorn bucket, and I spray painted them. You can see it was white inside, they were white. I took them home over Easter break, and I spray painted all the buckets, and then I took craft foam and cut out a visor for the front of the hat, because we keep the kids out of the sun. We put the school logo sticker on the front, and this is actually the drum major's cap, so he got some extra stars on his. And then stuck a feather in the top of the bucket. I put a little sponge stopper here. It stops the feather from falling through and from poking the kids in the head. And then just tied some elastic around the bucket, and there you go. We have a marching band hat.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. I love it. Now, I've got to ask you, though, backing up, how did the school respond when you said you wanted to do a kazoo band?
They would go for it.
Really?
Oh, totally go for it. I think that was great. What better PR can you ask?
I agree.
We ordered a huge marching band banner that says St. Columban Kazoo and Drum Corps. So we're marching around the Garden Grove community with a Garden Grove school. It's great PR. People notice it. In fact, I had someone come to me, I met through something else going on, and she said something about, a kazoo and drum thing. She said, were you in the Strawberry Festival last year? This is somebody I don't even know. I said, yeah. She goes, I remember that. My mom and I were talking. Isn't that the cutest thing you've ever seen? So it's a really good PR builder for our church and our community at the school here, because it's really off the charts, different, right? Mm-hmm. You don't see a kazoo and drum corps that often.
I've never
so
seen
it's something that people remember.
I totally agree with you.
And the school was totally supportive. The staff have been supportive. In fact, the 3rd and the 5th grade teacher also marched in the parade with us. Mm-hmm. And my husband, who's also a musician, picked up a marching band cornet, because the biggest problem we have with a medley is the kids holding their pitch. And so we start going all over the place. So he kind of stayed in the back, and he would keep the pitch going with the kids when he'd feel them slipping, or if they needed a little extra support, and that just snapped them right back. So we had all kinds of help. Our parochial vicar, who is an equivalent of like an assistant pastor, has a really great rapport with the kids at the school here. So we asked him if he would march in the parade with us. So he came out with his collar on and everything, and we bring him over to the school. He gets presented his T-shirt and his kazoo, and then he asked if he could have a marching band hat, and the kids just go crazy, Here's our Father Philip, and he's going to be in our band. They think they're rock stars. They really do. They think they're rock. I don't know if you get that kind of same response from adults in an alumni program, but for those kids, they think they're in a real parade. I mean, you've been to the Garden Grove Parade. It's Strawberry Festival Parade is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Absolutely.
nice sized parade, and they have a lot of support and a lot of people cheering at them. It's great. We've used our band for other things too. We had Memorial Day, pretty much a program here at the school on Friday of Memorial Weekend, and we recognize all the people who lost their lives while serving in the military from the city of Garden Grove. And we read all those names, and a bell tolls, and we invite all our veterans to come. Well, our bishop came. We had public officials come from the city of Garden Grove. We had our representative come, state representative. So it's a big deal, and we open it up with a parade. So the kazoo and drum corps come right through the middle of our hall, our church and school hall, and they spread out and march around. They play a patriotic medley through the whole thing. Again, they love it. The people love it. I think the parents like it too. It's a discipline thing. We couldn't win any awards for our marching band skills. I mean, if you've ever tried to teach a 10-year-old how to march in rhythm, I used to tell people, please pray for me. I'm trying to teach 10-year-olds how to walk in rhythm.
No, I thought they did very well.
We struggle, but my husband was in the military, and he said, I got to tell you, there's adults that can't walk in rhythm.
True.
So some of the kids just don't feel it, but we got up on the correct foot by saying you always start with your left foot. Well, 8 and 10-year-olds sometimes will say, they're saying left, right, but they're doing right, left. But that's okay. So we just, sometimes you got to just let go. We're not in a competition, we're there so they can have fun and so that they think that music is fun. For me, that's the biggest benefit for me. It doesn't matter if they're playing all the correct notes. It doesn't matter if every drum beat is exactly perfect. It doesn't matter if they all end up together, and that's what we strive for, and sometimes magic happens. But the biggest thing is they will remember that the rest of their lives. They will remember, I was in the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival. And I tell them, you remember this, I'll be long gone, and you tell your grandchildren, you take out those pictures, and you take out your kazoo, and you tell them, I was in the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival Parade.
I agree. That's something that's going to stay with them for the rest of their lives. And I love how you've actually been very cost effective in how you've done it. How much does it cost to have the kazoo band? What do you think?
The kazoos, I order online from a company called Kazooby Kazoos. You can probably get them a little less expensive, like with Oriental Trading Company or one of those, big online purchase in quantity kind of things. But we found the Kazooby Kazoos are good quality kazoos, and they have some extra accessories like that little bell, the horn on the end, that gives us just a little bit more volume. They also have, we tried it, okay? They also have a little microphone that can sit in the top of the kazoo, because this is where all the sound comes out. So it sits in the top of here, but it's more for a soloist thing, because it has a 1/4-inch jack and you plug it into a speaker. If you were a soloist, it would work. We tried actually getting battery-operated individual speakers. We can't do Bluetooth because they're not, so we had to find one that actually had a 1/4-inch jack or would take any kind of a jack so that we can put an adapter. So now we're talking $15 for the microphone, $2 for this adapter, $2 for this. And so we thought, well, if it really works, well, again, we'll ask for sponsorship. Or maybe we make the speaker as part of the curriculum that, as you buy pencils and things, you buy your child, it was a $10 speaker. And we found it did not make that much more sound at all. It was not worth the investment. We were better off going with the natural kazoo, unless we were going to do like a performance on a stage wherever we could hook into a speaker system. But for a small battery pack or chargeable speaker, didn't work. So that's why we stuck with that. And we just don't play louder. So I think the kazoos were like $1 each. And then there might have been another $1 for the horn. And then the lanyards, all these things are really cost effective if you go online. So if that's your main objective, you've got to stay in a specific cost, you have to shop online. And the lanyards are just, red is our school color. I got those, I think, from Oriental Trading Company. The drums were ordered from a corporate website for, I think it's Guitar Center. They have like a corporate kind of thing you can go to and say, we want to buy 30 mini snare drums, and they gave them a price of like $30 each. It was a great price. But again, we didn't have to pay for that. Someone gave us that $1,000.
Now, did you have to do any fundraisers, or did you simply ask for sponsors?
Nope, no fundraisers.
No fundraisers at all. You just simply asked for sponsors.
That's all we did.
Sponsor, and that was just word of mouth.
Word of mouth. The 2 classes, went to the 2 classes first, and said, parents, this is what we need to do. We need to purchase some t-shirts were the biggest cost. The popcorn bucks, actually, we ended up getting donated.
Okay.
And these were, 60 feathers. I mean, it was like $10. This is just rip-rack from Walmart. This is craft foam. All of this was pretty inexpensive. The biggest cost involved were the drums, which someone donated, and we did not ask for those. They came to us.
Wow.
And the t-shirts we just sent, I sent a note out to the parents, the 3rd grade parents, the kazoo and the drum corps parents, and said, do you have a business or could you sponsor? It ended up being like $400. So it wasn't like a break the bank kind of thing. And it ended up that the parents said, don't even put our business on it. That's fine. We'll know. The kids know. That's fine. Just do your thing on the front. And so the parents came through. And this kind of thing, some of it went through the music budget and some of it went through Miss Rowe's budget.
Well, you must really care about the kids and the program.
Yes, I do.
Only money involved in this.
And you have to be a little crazy to do something like this.
Very creative, I would say. Very creative.
We'll call it creative.
Now, you work with elementary school kids. Do you think this would work for a junior high school group or a high school group or a college group? If there's a college or high school,
if you have enthusiasm, I think it could work for anybody.
To do it.
Why not? I mean, there's an online video of an adult group, and I can't remember what they're called. They play, if you just do Star Wars medley kazoos.
Yes, I saw that one.
And I sent it to you.
Yes.
Here's a group of adults playing a complete medley of all the Star Wars music, and they're playing it in harmony. So why would it have to be only children who can't read music? They're a blast to play the kazoo. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun thing. If you have a group that has enthusiasm, I don't see what the age difference would make. You could do it with senior citizens.
The key is enthusiasm.
And someone can't say, oh, I get all the time. Not so much from elementary school students, because kids, I tell my adult choir all the time, the choir from the church, I love working with kids. Kids never say, this music's too high, this music's too low, this music's too contemporary, this is too old. There's never, they just do it. They just do it. I tell them, we're going to do a movie medley. And I said, and we're going to be doing Harry Potter, okay, big points for that. And we're going to be doing Star Wars, huge points for that. They go crazy. They don't care that they're going to also be learning The Bridge Over the River Kwai, which is a classic, because they just know it's all fun. Everything's fun. They don't complain about that stuff. And that's all the way. I have preschool here all the way to 8th grade. My 8th graders, I probably could have gotten them a little bit more enthusiastic about music if I had put the 8th graders on kazoos.
Oh.
So it could, like junior high age, when it's kind of like that, nothing's cool, and it certainly isn't cool to sing, and we don't have an instrumental program here. It could have been something that maybe pushed them over, because I know I go to the 8th grade brothers and sisters of the kazoo band and drum corps to be our banner carriers. And they fight over it. Last year I had to have 4, because all 4 brothers and sisters were like, well, no, I want to do it. So I let all 4 of them carry the banner. This year we only had 2 brothers and sisters that were in the kazoo corps. So,
do you have any parades coming up right now?
No, I've looked into that, and we applied to maybe see if we could perform at the Orange County Fair. I haven't heard anything. It's really tough with this age level getting people to participate when it's off school time.
Right.
So anything in the summer we thought probably isn't going to work. And to go, the only thing we have coming up is we're going to try and see if we can participate in the lighting of the tree for the city of Garden Grove in December or November, whenever that is. But that wouldn't necessarily be a parade. But I think parade-wise, we're good with just the Strawberry Festival. It takes a lot of communication and gray hairs to get elementary age school children organized with their families, and just getting the children to the drop-off site and then getting their parents to pick them up when they, gotta tell you. The day after the Strawberry Festival, I said, I'm never doing this again. My husband said, you said that last year. I said, I know, I just need time to release it and then I'll be fine again. But it takes a toll on you, because when you have adults, it's different. You can say, be here, and this is where you need to be, and if you aren't there, then I address it to you. But when you're addressing it to children, you need to be there, but guess what? They can't be there if mom and dad don't bring them.
Right.
And they can't be picked up in a timely manner if mom and dad don't come to pick them up.
Oh, yes.
So, this year at the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival, we were done at 11:15. And it was 12:30 before I got rid of my last child. And I can't leave them.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So, and the mom says, well, I couldn't get through because the streets were closed. Well, I told you the streets were closed. We aren't that far from where the Strawberry Festival happens. I told the parents, park here at the school, walk over there, watch the parade, then you can walk to the library. It's a short walk back to St. Columban. You can bring the horse to water, but you can't force him to drink, and that's kind of like sending notes home. And if anybody has the answer how to deal with that, then we're talking miracles, because it just is, it's real problematic when you're working with children. You can't rely on them to be responsible for themselves.
That's right. Now, I can see your heart is really in this. I mean, with kazoos, and I mean, you do the choir and you do other things, handbells and everything like that. It's not very difficult to get people to take you seriously for choir or handbells. Do you find it difficult to get people to take seriously a kazoo band?
No.
No,
not at all. Because you could be taken seriously and still be fun.
True.
Where does serious not mean fun?
Right.
I mean, serious, they can go together with no problem. I have had no problem. If anything, people are kind of enticed to like kazoos and drums. Well, let's check this out kind of thing. No, haven't had that problem at all.
And with the, you said you're going to be in the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival probably again next year, even though you said you're not going to do it. Now, I got to ask you this. Now, why would you not do it? What's the hardest part? I mean, is that the hardest part?
Yep.
Is dealing with the parents? Is that that's the most
Absolutely.
difficult part?
Hardest part.
The hardest part. Okay. What's the most rewarding part about being in a kazoo band, leader of a kazoo band?
Having kids from last year tell me, I'll never forget being in the parade. That's. What more can you say? I mean, as a music teacher, just to have someone have some joy from something as simple as being in the drum corps or being in the kazoo band. It's awesome.
Now, you said you're going to be possibly doing at the tree lighting in Garden Grove. What other venues do you look for to be in besides the parade and things like this at the Orange County Fair?
Right. That's about it. Locally, here at school, we do the Memorial Day thing. We also have, when we have pep rallies, the kazoo and drum corps come out, and that they form a little tunnel, and they hold their drumsticks over, and the kids run through, and they bang their drums, but pretty much it's all local for St. Columban. Other than that, just because it's so problematic of getting children somewhere, and most of the time for a parade, it's going to be in off-school hours. You're not going to have a big 4th of July parade in the middle of a school day. It's going to be on a holiday or a weekend or an evening, when I have to rely on the parents to get them there.
Makes sense. So my last question would be, what would you say to someone, perhaps who's a choir director at a school or a church or maybe of a community group, and they're thinking about doing this? What would you say to them? I mean, what would be the first step, and what would you say to them to make that happen?
Get people to sign up. If you're working with adults, tell them to buy their own kazoos. I mean, you don't have to always start off with expensive things. I mean, we're talking $1 kazoo. However, I have to tell you, with the children, we don't tell them this is $1. They're given the kazoo, and they're told, your next kazoo, if you lose this kazoo, this replacement kazoo is going to cost $5. Well, to a 3rd grader, $5 is a lot. And it helps instill in them that there's a sense of responsibility. This is your kazoo for the school year. If you lose it, and we have had it happen. We had, in fact, last year at the Strawberry Festival, one of the kazoo players walks up and says, Miss Rowe, I forgot my kazoo. And I made her sweat it out for half an hour before I pulled out my spare. I said, I don't know what you want me to do. You're in kazoo crew. You're coming to the festival to play the kazoo. What were you thinking that you wouldn't bring your kazoo? And you know how congested it is. It's not like mom and dad can say, we'll hop in the car and go back and get it. So I just made her stand there and sweat it out a little bit, because they're told if they show up without their equipment, they cannot be in the parade. I don't care if they're 5 years old. At some point, we have to start teaching some sense of responsibility. Okay? They wear their t-shirt, they bring their kazoo. That's all they have to remember. So you don't bring your kazoo, you sweat it out for a while.
Well, that's good to get the good discipline.
I'd say go for it. I don't care who you are. If you have an idea that you'd like to form this, whether it's with adults or seniors or children, just do it. It's a blast. It's fun. It's making music very fun for kids too. It's teaching them responsibility. They have to all work together. I show them videotapes of like Ohio State marching band, U of M marching band, and they're watching, and you see their eyes go. And I tell them, well, of course, they're practicing every day, hours and hours. But this is what a really good marching band looks like. We saw one, I think it was Ohio State, where they did a film medley, and they had Jurassic Park, and they all form into a dinosaur eating another dinosaur, and they had Harry Potter flying on the broom. This is with marching band people. And you could just see them go, oh, it's so cool. So they know good things happen with rehearsal. Our issue is, of course, at a Catholic school too, we have, you can see outside our classroom here, we have apartments. So we have to be careful sometimes of when we rehearse outside. And our church has 24-hour adoration of the Eucharist every Tuesday and once a month on the 15th. So we have to be respectful of what's going on in church and not have kazoos playing Star Wars music and drums beating outside of the church when we're walking around practicing. So we're weather-based also when we have weather issues, which luckily here in Southern California isn't a big deal. So there's all different things that we have to work, and there's always things going on at the school. It always can't be about just kazoo and drums. The school had to learn a special song that we did to honor the veterans. So sometimes music class isn't always just kazoos. It's learning to sing a song, or what is the history of the national anthem, taking a class on something like that. So it's all time management.
No, actually, I lied. One last question. Do they get
Yeah.
to do fun things outside of, with the kazoo bands? I mean, besides parades and going to festival, do they have like fun things they do as a band without the kazoo?
You mean like a party?
Yeah.
No.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair
No,
enough.
they don't. We have, at the end of the year, we have awards. So this year, this is the first year because I just didn't think of it last year. This year, I went online and found little tiny drum ornaments, and I found some little tiny kazoos. And I drilled a hole in the little plastic kazoo and put it on a ribbon, and then I made little tiny stickers that said 2017 Kazoo and Drum Corps. And then the drums got one on the bottom of their little ornament, and the kazoos got one on their little tiny kazoo, and I gave them each an ornament so that they could put it on their Christmas tree every year and remember when they were in the kazoo group. So that's about as fun, as if the rest isn't fun.
It seems like a lot of fun. It seems like the kids are having a lot of fun.
It's total fun.
Well, really, I want to thank you for taking your time, and also thank you for doing the kazoo band. I mean, it's an exciting group, and it's a lot of fun. It definitely energized the crowd at the parade, and everybody would just love seeing
Yeah,
them.
they did
So
love
thank you for
seeing
taking your time,
You're
energy,
welcome.
and
My pleasure.
your own personal resources to make that band happen. It really blessed a lot of people. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.